Well, we've got the National Archives response to a Grassley letter that was asking for information that the Obamas don't want to release. And then we're going to talk about some media inconsistencies and a few other things in between. So stick with me, folks. I'll be back in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I've got several things for you. I'm going to start out with this one right here because Representative Mitchell sues Whitmer, that's Governor Whitmer from Michigan, over COVID-19 response. And those of you who may not know, she's been a bit on the tyrannical side here. And I mean, to the point, like, if you have a boat, you can go out in a boat as long as it doesn't have a motor. What's the difference? I mean, really, does it make a difference? If you're in a boat, you're in a boat. And there's just lots of silly things that she has enacted. And then she said she wanted to extend it longer. And the legislature in Michigan said, not going to happen. And so she tried to do an end run around them. Well, she's got a number of lawsuits filed against her now. And I don't know how it's going to come out, but one of them in particular happens to be this Paul Mitchell, who represents Michigan's 10th congressional district in the Thumb region. That has to do with how Michigan's put together. You know, it has like a thumb and a mitten and all that kind of stuff. He says he's going after her as a private citizen, not as a congressman, and he believes the governor's stay-at-home order violates Article 4, Section 4 of the 14th Amendment, because down here it says the 14th Amendment says, in part, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And you see, this is the real crux of all of these laws and these governors taking over, because really they can't enforce you to stay home because that is depriving you of your liberty without due process. So they really can't. They can recommend it. They can ask you to do it, but I don't think they can order you to really do it, because I think it violates that right there. And if you saw my last video, it violates that as well, because that would be a deprivation of rights. So yes, I think this is going to be interesting to see what happens, because she's gotten a little full of herself, and I don't think it's going to end up well for her. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. And then I wanted to show you this because this was one of President Trump's tweets today. He said, for the constant criticism from the do-nothing Democrats and their fake news partners, here is the newest chart on our great testing miracle compared to other countries. Dems and lamestream media should be proud of the USA instead of always ripping us down. I watched a little bit of him talking to the press, and he pulls this out and he shows it to them. And then they still kept asking him questions saying, well, we don't have the testing, it's the testing's not there. And it's like, he's showing it to you. Look at this. This is the United States right here, folks. This is our testing. This is everybody else's testing. I mean, how much better do you want it to be? It's just amazing. Because I saw Chuck Schumer today in a tweet said, oh, President Trump has no plans for testing. He can't get the testing working. It's like, okay, are you an idiot? Well, yeah, I guess we know the truth to that. But this is very clear and obvious. And they just won't even accept it. He shows it to them in beautiful living color right there in front of their faces. And they still keep asking him questions that are like, they don't even see that. I'm stunned that they are so hateful that they are blinded, evidently, to what he's showing them. It's like that right there. And it's not like he did this. This isn't from him. So why in the world would you not accept this? Oh, but you can't do that. And here's the source and everything like that. But oh no, we can't accept that because it comes from Trump. And I had to laugh at the town meeting on Sunday night because the reporters afterwards, they gave all kinds of horrible statements about him. They were complaining that he said he was treated worse by the press than Lincoln. And they were saying, oh, how dare he say that right in front of the statue of Lincoln? Hello? Do you not see that you're proving your own point? That's what I thought was so funny. They went off on that, and it's like, your words right now are proving what he said is true. So anyway, I just thought I'd share this with you. All the links will be down below just like usual. Well, back on March 13th, I did this video. And it's one of those that has a few different things in it. But the major topic was that the Democrats were resisting the Biden investigation because, remember, before all this started, there was major questions about Hunter Biden getting all this money from Burisma, and his father was vice president, and the whole video of Joe pretty much shaking him down and saying, you do this or you ain't getting our money. And yet the Democrats didn't want to look into it. And then all of a sudden, we had the impeachment, and then we had this, and nobody's talking about Hunter Biden anymore. When's the last time you heard him mentioned? Other than me, right? So anyway, I did this video, and it had in it this letter here that Grassley and Ron Johnson, who's currently the chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs in the Senate, and also Chuck Grassley, who is the chairman of the Committee on Finance. And they sent a letter on November 21st of 2019 requesting access to certain Obama administration presidential records. And they had all this that they laid out, and these were the specific things they wanted. Basically, this was something that was going to connect with the whole Ukraine investigation because they wanted records relating to meetings among White House officials and then these people who were from Ukraine. So they specified all these people they wanted, okay? Now, remember, this is from the National Archivist, and he said that we understand it's going to be a lot. It may be potentially in excess of 10,000 pages. And then page 2, they expect to be completed on February 7th. We're now waiting for the representatives to complete their review with respect to determining whether to assert any constitutionally based privileges. Well, that's because when a president leaves office, the National Archives, of course, keep copies of all of his stuff. And usually the typical thing is for 5 years after they leave, most documents in that are sealed. So, it protects some of the things, maybe deals that were going on or whatever the case was, national security. And so usually it's sealed. So when it talks about representatives here, that meant representatives of Obama who would be able to say, yes, you can have this or no, you can't. So the archivist was waiting to find out what they were going to say. Well, now, Obama, being as transparent as he was, didn't leave it at 5 years. It's an automatic 5 years. But he decided right before he left that he was going to seal it for longer. In fact, he sealed his records for 12 years. When did he do it? Well, this article right here is January 9th of 2017. And President Barack Obama has opted to keep his presidential records under wraps for 12 years after he leaves office on January 20th. And notice, this is when it was. And the letter was released to Politico on January 6th. So you gotta wonder, he waited all that time and wasn't going to do anything about it. And then all of a sudden at the end, he's like, oh, gee, maybe I better sign this. And notice for 12 years, see, that would make sure that Trump would not have access to him anytime during his presidency if he got reelected. So, the 8 years there, and it would have to be somebody past Trump that would be able to get him. Now, of course, they can get some documents if Obama signs off on them. But the Office of Barack and Michelle Obama sent this letter on March 13th, ironically the same day I did the video, and said, and this is to the archivist, and says basically, nope, we're not going to do it. And so right here, it's, concerning that letter, November 21st, from Johnson and Grassley. And the problem was it was information about Ukraine. And so here's what it says. President Obama has consistently supported the nonpartisan administration of presidential records and the commitment to transparency core to NARA's mission. That's the National Archives. However, the current request is not a proper use of the limited NARA exceptions. It arises out of efforts by some, actively supported by Russia, to shift the blame for Russian interference in the 2016 election to Ukraine. See Fiona Hipsky testimony at 3940. Based on questions I have heard, some of you on this committee appear to believe that Russia and its security services did not conduct a campaign against our country, and that perhaps somehow for some reason Ukraine did. This is a fictional narrative that is being perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves. Remember she said that? And it's like, they still didn't get it. Well, they got it, but they didn't want to let anyone know that they got it. We weren't saying that Russia didn't meddle. We were saying Russia and Ukraine meddled. So there was a lot of meddling. But then again, Fiona Hill was part of it in Ukraine. So of course she was going to say, no, Ukraine didn't do anything bad. No. And then he does David Hale, Senate Committee on Foreign Relations testimony on December 3rd, 2019. I have seen no credible evidence about these allegations of Ukraine. So, in other words, we're not giving them to you. Gee, I wonder why. Oh, can't let that come out, right? So, yeah, that's the situation. Grassley and Johnson did not get the documents they wanted. I don't know how this can work. I don't know if there is some way, like if Durham needs them, if there's some way that he can get them without Obama signing off on them. It's just going to be tough. The documents they wanted had to do with Ukrainians coming to the White House and meeting with Obama's people. And so I'm sure Obama doesn't want that information in the hands of Donald Trump and his administration. So anyway, that's this. I'll leave the links down below. You can read it on your own. And then I wanted to post this for you. This is a theory from one of the researchers, and I wanted to give it to you. I don't know if it is or not, but basically his theory is maybe this was done to try to find leaks that are going on still. Because I know there's been other things where they did like stings trying to catch people that were leaking, so they would put documents out in different versions. They did this with the Carter Page warrant, and they put several documents out, and they had slight little alterations on them. So when they leaked to the press, they knew which ones they were, so they had a very narrow number of people who had, any access to that. So that is a possibility, I guess. It could be. I don't know, but there's something about it that I'm sure is more than just meets the eye. Something happened. We'll see. But I thought I'd just leave that down below. You can read through it if you want. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm using the We Are the News links a lot of times, it's because sometimes when I use the other links, they have words that get me in trouble. So, in the links themselves. So this way I can put that up there and it's safe, it's good, and no problems with it. Pelosi's coronavirus power grab. I thought this was an interesting article. It's an opinion piece on the Wall Street Journal. And unfortunately, it's one of those that's locked. But basically, it's saying that Pelosi is keeping the representatives back because she has more power that way. And she can pretty much do things herself. And so, they don't have a lot of voice in it. Now, what I don't understand is they really need to get back to their jobs. I'm doing my job. The people at the grocery store are doing their job. The people at CVS are doing their job. The people at the gas station are doing their jobs. So what's the deal? Come on, Congress. you're still getting paychecks. And as long as you're getting paychecks, you better be back there doing your job. There's absolutely no reason that they shouldn't be back there doing their jobs in Congress. Now, here's something that's very weird. I watched today the hearing on, the confirmation hearing on John Ratcliffe for the DNI position. And, oh boy, the room, you've seen these hearing rooms because I've posted them many times. And they had him sitting clear at the back of the room. I mean, why? There must have been 40 feet between him and the senators up there. And of course, they only let the senators in a few at a time so they could ask questions. And oh, it was just crazy. And of course, he couldn't have his family there or anything. Now, I didn't watch the end of it. I watched the first half and kind of wore me out. So I didn't see the end of it. But as far as I saw, it wasn't anything unusual. You got all the Democrats trying to say he's going to be Trump's puppet. And then, he's saying, no, I actually am taking this job because I want to get less political. So, he was trying to defend himself. I thought he did a good job from what I saw. I want to watch the rest of it, but been kind of having a bit of a chronic fatigue syndrome flare. So I've had to spend a little more time in bed than I normally do. Anyway, then there was this that the 17th letter of the alphabet pointed out to us about the president of Tanzania, because he had some kits and he was smart enough to say, okay, let's check them. And so they tested non-human samples, including a goat and a pawpaw fruit. And so the tests were given human names and ages as they were sent off for results, and they tested positive. So, yes, something's happening. And, in case you don't know what a pawpaw is, there's a pawpaw. So, something's happening. And, that's what I think we needed to check, because this was one reason why I think President Trump kept us from using any of those tests or anything from China, because they were either tainted or they were rigged. So, that's why he wanted us to develop our own, and he was pushing so hard for it. So I don't know if that's the reason Nancy Pelosi and like Chuck Schumer and even Hillary Clinton are pushing hard for the testing. I don't know if they're trying to get the China tests in there or the Bill Gates tests in there. I don't know. Whatever the case is, Trump has done an end run around them, and I don't think they're happy about that. So anyway, then I wanted to show you this video. I'm not going to show it to you because it is short, and I want this person, I don't want to take their views from them. But it is a video where you have a couple of people here. You have this lady and then Deborah Birx, who are talking about how these were, how the deaths are being recorded. And so in this one, she basically says, if you were in a hospice and had already been given a few weeks to live, and guess what? You also tested positive, you are going to be counted as one when you die. Isn't that fun? And then later on you have Birx here, and she says pretty much a similar thing. So I'll leave that for you and you can watch it on your own. But yeah, they are messing with us, and we know that because there's a lot of fake news going on. And this researcher right here did a really good job of putting some things together. And I wanted to show them to you. I'll leave the link to the article down below and you can get it from there. But, this is what we're dealing with right here. Before his term ends, President Obama needs to fire FBI Director Comey. And then they turn around, one word for Donald Trump's firing of Comey, Nixonian. It's so contradictory. And, they did a couple memes here. Some memes, if you want to use those. That's what they're for. Just click on them, right click, and then save them and use them however you want. That's what they make them for. This one, you remember this? This was a long time ago. And, Trump said that he had been wiretapped and they all went ballistic. And, baseless wiretap claim. Donald Trump just flat out lied about Trump Tower wiretapping. And then down here, guess what? Exclusive, U.S. government wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman. Yeah, it comes out eventually. This one, I don't know if you heard the clip of this, but she definitely said this, that, controlling what people think is our job. She said it. I heard it. I don't know where the clip is, but... And then this one, this was fairly recently. This was March 23rd, because the New York Times had this headline: Democrats block action on $1.8 trillion stimulus. And then they changed it later on to Democrats block action on stimulus plan seeking worker protections, to make it sound better for the Democrats. And that still wasn't satisfactory. So then they made it partisan divide threatens deal on rescue bill. This is what they do. They play with your mind. They use these words to just twist things around. Here's another one. You've got Puerto Rico mayor blames Donald Trump for soaring Hurricane Maria death count. It's a historic failing. And then Trump's Puerto Rico response is confirming his critics' worst fears. Trump perpetuates falsehoods on hurricane aid as scandal rocks Puerto Rico's government. And then reality: Puerto Rico's emergency director fired after discovery of warehouse full of hurricane supplies. We talked about that on here. And same thing over here. It's just, this is what they do. The ventilators, oh, no ventilators. They don't have any ventilators. Shortages, masks. We don't have any masks. We don't have anything. And then Union locates 39 million N95 masks for healthcare workers, local governments. And Governor Andrew Cuomo admits stockpile of thousands of unused ventilators. Oh, gee, amazing how they can do it. I had this one on there before. So, that was kind of interesting. I retweeted it because this is really what they're doing. It doesn't matter what he says. They're just going to make something negative off of it. This one, this is our good friend Jennifer Rubin that I've talked about before, the one who claims to be a conservative blogger. Why Iowa is so important this time. That was in May of 2019, and then after things went all haywire, what good are the Iowa caucuses anyway? This is what they do. So I'm going to leave this down below. You can go through the rest of them. It's the same kind of basic thing that they have. All these different things. Here they were saying the presidential election can't be hacked. Where's the outrage over Russia's hack of the U.S. election? I mean, sometimes there was one down here. This one, they even do it on the same page. Okay? This is CNN page. On the very same page, up here at the top says President Trump condemns all sides of clashes in Charlottesville. And then down here, Trump once again fails to condemn the alt-right white supremacists. I mean, he did. I don't even know what to say when you see things like that, because they are so crazy. They're contradicting themselves. And that's what's really bad. But this, I'm going to leave the link to this one down below, and this is one of them I definitely wanted to make sure I had the kind of innocuous link up here. But, this is what they think of you, the higher-ups, that evidently you're basement-dwelling idiots. Isn't it nice to know they love us so much that we're making them money, but they don't seem to care, and that's what they think of us. So, we're not authoritative enough. Yeah, okay, right. Well, anyway, and then Judicial Watch here has filed a lawsuit seeking some Dr. Fauci and WHO records, like the correspondence between them. I think that's an excellent idea. I'm so glad they're doing that. And I'm going to leave you with this one, because some of the things that we're finding that Fauci has said in the past and what he's saying now don't line up. And it is very possible that there's some kind of liability issue that could be going on in the near future. And I've wondered this because I'm 100% positive that President Trump really knows who this guy is, what he's all about, and he can see through it. And I wondered why he kept him around, although I know that if he fired him, then people would be complaining again. But they're going to complain anyway, no matter what, right? But I think this is a possibility. Maybe this is something that he's kind of doing himself in here, because he is contradicting himself, what he has stood for in the past, just because he wants to make sure this new narrative is the one that's being put out there. So some of it, here it says he's mincing words, so it could be that he's just playing around with semantics. But I just thought I'd leave this for you. And there's some links down here that you can go through, several of them, that you can see. Okay? So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.